Achy Dragon?
Yeah, man.
What's Achy Dragon doing?
Just like it's a negative energy bot.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the DNVR show, the DNVR Nuggets podcast. There we go. Wow. The vibes are off the charts today. We are presented, as always, by DraftKings Sportsbook. Make sure to use the code DNVR when you sign up and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You can see the logo right up there, the upper right corner of your screen. I'm Harrison Wind, alongside Brendan Vogt. What's going on, man?
Harrison, Merry Jokmas, brother.
Merry Jokmas!
And to you at home, all around the world watching with us, a Merry Jokmas as well.
Happy December 15th. Merry Jokmas. What a couple of days we had. You know, the Nuggets at Ball Arena last night beat the Washington Wizards. Monte Morris and Will Barton are back in town, you know, for the holiday. Nice of them to come for that time of year. Denver wins. Nikola Jokic has, I think, one of his most dominant games. Dominant, I think, is the word I'd use.
Yep.
Of his entire NBA career. And it falls on the eve of December 15th, the eve of Jokmas. It's like we talk about this perfect story with the Denver Nuggets vote. It keeps adding up, I feel like.
Nuggets 2.0 on the way. There is something to these little moments in the season.
Yeah.
It's such a long season, and it can be a slog for all involved, as is well documented. And I think these little moments that are invigorating, full of vibes, they can galvanize a group. So for the Nuggets, I actually think it started in Portland, Jamal Murray, with a very vibey performance.
Sure.
And then since then, okay, sure, the defense hasn't inspired much hope, but the way they're winning, the way these games are going, it does feel like things are turning in the right direction, you know, just from the feel.
Right.
It felt fun in Ball Arena last night. It feels like a holiday today.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
We're
it's only-
celebrating. I mean, I thought about getting some Rocky out. I'm still not ruling that out.
I haven't either, man.
Throughout the duration of this show.
haven't
We'll
either.
see what happens.
Thirsty
It is right
Thursday?
over there. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Rocky are brought back directly from Serbia, from Belgrade.
The good stuff.
The best Rocky in all the land.
You got to know a guy, and we know a guy or two in Serbia at this point.
We'll see. But we got a fun show. We're going to talk about Jokmas a little in segment one, go over a little bit of the history of December 15th, because I know a lot of you guys have been watching this show, you know, for a while, for 2-3 seasons. We got a lot of new viewers as well. So I thought it'd be appropriate to just give a little history lesson on why December 15th, why Jokmas is such an important date in Nuggets history. And then we'll go to the mailbag. We got a lot of great questions from you guys that we'll hit in segments 2 and 3. But first, let's go back to December 15th, 2016. And I'll even go back a little further than that, because that was Nikola Jokic's second season in the NBA. And if you remember at the start of that season, the Nuggets tried to play Nikola Jokic and Jusuf Nurkic together.
How'd it go?
It went really bad. It did not go well. It was bad vibes. You could tell those guys were uncomfortable on the court together. You could tell they just didn't really like playing together, I don't think. But the Nuggets started 3-6. And then on November 13th, this is just 9 games into the season, Nikola Jokic goes to Michael Malone with tears in his eyes, as people have described it. It might be a little, you know,
the tears,
a
I
little
feel like
dramatized.
That's
but
a year 3 detail. That wasn't in the first story.
Yeah. But 9 games into the season, Nikola Jokic goes to Michael Malone and asks if he can come off the bench.
Incredible.
Think about that for a minute. Like, Nikola Jokic, second round pick, has this great rookie season. He sees that the pairing with Jusuf Nurkic is not working. He asks Michael Malone to bring him off the bench. It's funny. That game on November 13th, the first game where he came off the bench that year, it was against Portland. Denver lost 122-105. Jokic went scoreless on 3 shot attempts, but was a plus 11.
Naturally. Of course.
So that goes on for a bit. Jokic actually came off the bench for longer than I remembered when I just kind of went and looked back at it. So that was on November 13th. And then we go all the way to December 15th. So pretty much a month later, the Nuggets are 9-16. Jokic is playing well off the bench. He's captaining the second unit, but just the Nuggets still aren't playing really well. They're 9-16. They're coming off a 2-4 road trip The last of those 4 losses was in Dallas, where Jokic had a huge game. He went for 27 points off the bench against the Mavs. Ahead of that home game on December 15th, Michael Malone makes the switch. He was talking about it last night. He said this is probably another year 4, year 5 detail after the fact. He was lying in his bed wondering what he was doing, why he was bringing Nikola Jokic off the bench. It was keeping him up
Just
at
couldn't
night.
fall asleep, Harrison. Pulling the hair out of his head.
Yeah. But he does make the switch. Of course, Denver cruises in that game against Portland. Jokic actually doesn't even post a huge stat line, but you could just tell something had shifted and was different that game. Nuggets go 31-26 the rest of the year. They have the best offense in the NBA from there on out that season. And I mean, the rest is history. Now we're here. And it's pretty incredible to think back on. Did I miss anything? Or
No, I
did
think
I get pretty much all of it?
You got it. The only thing you missed was a young Vogt watching the Nuggets on League Pass in Barney's Beanery in West Hollywood.
Shout out, Barney's. Shout
out, Barney's. Thinking to myself, hey, this fellow looks good. I think I'm going to watch some Nuggets this year. Yeah, as we know, the rest is history. And now they've gone from, does this guy belong in the starting lineup, to who are the perfect starters to put around him because there's a title opportunity that can't be wasted. But the way it happens is appropriate. It's Jokic. You got it. This is a guy whose career in many ways almost never happened, right? In more ways than one. And even when he gets to the NBA, even after he's seen himself play well, the world almost had to drag Jokic to this realization, you're one of the best there is on the planet, maybe ever. It's a reluctant hero in that way. And it starts all the way with looking at his first opportunity and thinking, this can't be best for the team. Let's try something else.
I know.
That is not the origin story of a lot of MVPs in any sport.
Right. Usually it's, no, bench the other guy.
Yeah. Hey, coach, I love him. Love my teammates. I give us the best chance to win out there. But no, Jokic takes the other approach. And it's even as his game has changed in so many ways, he's stayed true to that version of himself. And it's unique.
I was in the locker room after the game last night, just kind of trying to take in the moment. I felt like it was a big moment. Like Nikola Jokic last night after the win over the Wizards, Michael Malone and the Nuggets presented him with the new Michael Jordan MVP trophy. And of course, like Jokic has this ridiculous game also, which the guys covered on the show last night. But, he goes for 43 points. He misses 3 shots the entire night. He only missed 1 shot from 2-point range. And that shot, he actually got the offensive rebound on and finished and
with
got
a foul.
fouled.
Yep.
He missed 2 threes. One of those was a half quarter that he actually
almost hit.
It was online.
It was good out of the hands.
But he has this ridiculous game. He gets the MVP trophy afterwards. So I went to the locker room to kind of actually see if I could see the trophy. That was really my main reason of going into the locker room. I didn't really get a glimpse at it. No,
Yeah.
He was hiding it pretty well. But I was just standing there with, friend of the show, Matt Moore. We were talking and we were thinking, like, imagine if on December 15th, 2016, like we told ourselves that this guy would win 2 MVPs and do all of this, and we'd be here right now talking about all the ridiculous things that he's done in the league. It's unfathomable, man. It's just a crazy, crazy story. That who knows where it's going to go. It's still got chapters and chapters to it, but it started on that date. And just thinking back to where we were then and how crazy we would think we were if we said what was going to happen.
Thinking of the checkpoints along the way, all the various mountains he's climbed, dragons he's slayed in terms of matchups, rivals, and guys he's been placed side by side with in the media. And each step, we would started long before you and I knew each other well, Harrison, but all of us, we'd get giddy in the parking lot, or off the air. Just what is possible here? Might he be better than blank?
Kristaps Porzingis. Maybe he's better than Kristaps Porzingis.
And that thing just kept sliding up. And honestly, man, in the most outlandish we got in the old days, I wasn't sitting there saying back-to-back MVP with an earnest chance at back-to-back MVP. Mm-hmm. That felt a little ridiculous. And right now it feels like the sky's the limit. So Malone had to reflect on it. Great question by Katie last night. And so it's right for us to now, not something to take for granted as a sports fan.
Yeah.
Nuggets fans don't need that explained to them, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always tell myself not to take it for granted. I never do. I soak it in every single time I get to watch him play. It's the privilege of a lifetime, really.
That's
like
right.
it's something I will never forget watching this guy play. Through all the years from December 15th. I mean, I was at that game, and just to where he is now, it's crazy. He was just sitting in the locker room last night, man. You would think it would have been lost to the Pistons earlier this season. He's just sitting at his locker, chilling.
Yeah.
It's like he signed a couple jerseys for a couple team employees, talking, was on his phone, getting some like post-game treatment done by a couple trainers. Then, just went, took a shower, came back, got dressed, did the media thing.
Just another day
Left
at the
arena,
office, man.
almost without the trophy.
Right. Just another day for the Michael Jordan MVP,
Right.
Nikola Jokic. And,
Right.
and man, that's all appropriate, that story. And the game, as you mentioned, the performance he put on that night, and it's perfect because, and let me be very clear, this is a compliment, not a criticism. It would be erroneous to say, it would be incorrect to say that Jokic played a lazy game last night. But I think it's accurate to say he was in second or third gear, which is only to say it was that effortless for him. And obviously, even he can't do that every night. But if they're not going to double and there's no Kristaps Porzingis, kind of feels like he can.
Yeah.
That was light work.
It was funny because I remember thinking over the first couple minutes of the first quarter when Jokic had a couple turnovers. Do you remember? He
Yep.
had like 2 or 3 turnovers in the first quarter. A couple of those came in the first couple minutes, I think. I was thinking that the Wizards actually started the game defending him pretty well, I thought. They were single covering him, and then, they would come with the double, but then that guy would be like jumping back and forth, showing back and forth. And I felt like it threw Jokic off for a second. And so at the beginning of the game, I actually thought the Wizards were defending him kind of well. But then he scored a couple baskets, and Washington stopped double teaming him at all.
Yeah.
And then he just scored every single time in the third quarter when he went 7-7 for 15 points. And then the game was pretty much done with.
Jokic loves the third quarter, I feel. I mean, I know the fourth quarter, but there are so many games that don't even get to clutch time because he'd had that kind of third quarter.
Yeah. Do you think he just comes out after halftime and he's like, fine.
Yeah.
I'll win the game. I was trying to get you to do it, Jamal. I was trying to let you lead us tonight, Mike, but I'll do it. Fine.
Well, I think what happens is, the team falls apart around him every third quarter.
Yeah.
So these are like -2 quarters where he's the best player on the floor.
Yeah. I want to bring up a fact about December 15th that I guarantee you nobody listening to the show has ever heard.
This is great.
I was researching December 15th this morning. I came across something that I never knew before, and this just adds to the December 15th lore. Kale, maybe zoom in on that just a little bit so people can see it better.
Screen record this for your bosses.
Take a picture of this, screenshot it, tweet it out. The first game of basketball ever was played on December 15th.
Stop going to work on December 15th.
We need to make this a national holiday. No, not even a national holiday. A world holiday.
A world holiday. The only people who are allowed to work on this day is us. We got to put a show on for you.
I will willingly work on December 15th.
Gladly.
More than happy to go to work and podcast and watch basketball on December 15th.
By the non-zero, but probably less than 1% chance that your boss is a fan of the show, DM me. I'll write him a letter.
Yeah.
I'll type it. My handwriting's pretty bad. I'll write him a letter. Don't work on December 15th. It's a real holiday. Did someone just fall down the stairs?
I think somebody just fell down the stairs. I didn't see who it was.
Wasn't me this time.
Yeah. No, but how incredible is that?
That fact is unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's too good to be true. I think it was super producer Kale who said somewhere in the Slack, it's like he was meant to be the greatest.
I know.
And you know what? You know what I did this morning? I looked at the career all-time box plus minus leaderboard.
I like to do that, you know,
And I thought-
on the occasional morning.
I thought maybe he is meant to be the greatest, Harrison. Maybe he is.
You know, that fact about December 15th comes from kansasmemory.org if you're doubting it at all. I mean, a peer-reviewed.org website. So, I mean, it's got to be fact.
Yeah,
But,
facts.
I don't think that was like the first regulated game of basketball, but the first time it was played.
That's good enough for me, yeah.
December 15th?
That it really is too good to be true. It's when basketball really started. You could argue it's when Nuggets
1891.
basketball really started. Just kidding. Jeff Morton probably hates that sentence. I know there's a history.
Yeah. I just thought that was cool. It adds to the December 15th lore a little bit.
Oh, of course. It's a great detail.
We're still going to be celebrating December 15th for years and years. Long past when, you know, I'm done covering basketball.
So I think Jokmas will outlast Christmas. I don't know for sure, but
It's got a good shot with the way things tend to go in this country. It could.
It could.
Let's hit a break real quick. On the other side, we will get to the mailbag. We got a bunch of great questions that you guys submitted. So let's hit a break and then get to that.
Okay, was the live chat frozen on our monitor? Okay, that's all right. I'll look at it on the computer. Harrison, you want to know a little story? When I first aged out of my parents' medical insurance, as you know, I was scrapping it through the sports media landscape, the pre-gambling money sports media landscape.
I feel like that was a big moment in sports media when the gambling money came in.
On account of we all have jobs now.
It gave us like 10 more years.
Yes, yeah, we were all ready to pack it up. But I went a little bit without health insurance. I thought to myself, what's the worst that can happen? This is a true story. I got scarlet fever 2 days into it.
Who gets scarlet fever?
In
I thought that was
2020.
eradicated.
Yeah, me too. I said, how old am I and what year is it? Is what I told the doctor. Anyway, here's my point. Don't go without health insurance. That's why I want to tell you about Denver Health Medical, which wants you to know. It's open enrollment time for individual health plans now through January 15. Denver Health Medical Plans offers Elevate Exchange plans available on the Connect for Health marketplace with great benefits and affordable plan choices. You can also call direct at 303-602-4912 and sign up online at denverhealthmedicalplan.org. Open enrollment for exchange runs November 1st to January 15th. Enroll by December 15th. To have your coverage being on January 1st, 2023, call today, 303-602-4912, or visit www.denverhealthmedicalplan.org. Get insured, or you might just get scarlet fever. So take it from me.
You probably won't get scarlet fever, but you might get something else.
You should still get insured. You know what else you should get? Illegal Pete's, because burritos are tight, and so is queso. I'm a fan of green chili. I like margaritas. Illegal Pete's combines all these things into one neat location. Heck, there's one on Colfax not far from the DNVR bar. Sometimes the fellas get lunch there. It's a real treat. Oh, Kale got lunch there today. Look at that. Illegal Pete's is a partner of ours once again, and they're hooking you all up with a little something extra this year. Spend $100 on gift cards and score an extra $25 for free. So for the Denverite in your life, or for the person that you've just been trying to get to go to Illegal Pete's with you more often, get them a really big gift card, get yourself 25 extra bucks, and enjoy that good queso.
What's your go-to order at Illegal Pete's?
It's a bowl, actually.
I get a bowl too.
I'm a bowl guy. The burritos are a bit much for my disposition. I get water weight, bro. If I'm eating wraps and bread, I blow up. I'm
Watching calories this time of year?
Yeah, man. We're not all on that Harrison Wind Peloton routine, you know?
I'm long off that Peloton routine. You haven't called me the Peloton Prince in a while.
We haven't. Actually.
Deservingly. I mean, I'm not that anymore. I wish I was. All right, guys. Welcome back to the DNBA show, the DNVR Nuggets podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code DNVR when you sign up and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. We got a bunch of mailbag questions to get to for the rest of this show. So I'm going to leave it in super producer Kale's hands and your hands to see what we got here. What we got in the mailbag.
Cool. For all international fans, how does Denver celebrate / appreciate Jokic and Jokmas? Now, and this one's from November in Denmark. Thanks, November in Denmark. Well, this is kind of a nascent thing. You know what I mean? It's. I think we've talked about it on the pod, but the momentum behind it is really growing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the Denver Nuggets official account tweeted out Happy Jokmas this morning.
Yes. Yes, I did see that. Well, it was a topic of discussion in the post-game
Yep.
press conference. I think because of Katie's question.
Indeed.
And then Michael Malone said something like, don't we have to call it something?
It should be a holiday.
It should be a holiday. That's what he said. And Katie said, Jokmas. I mean, it already is a holiday, coach. Like, get with the times.
Get with it, coach.
Yeah.
Get with it. I think we are getting there. I mean, not the actual holiday part, unless, Mayor Hancock happens to listen to this show. We'll see what we can do. But I think this actually is, in my opinion, like the third year in a row where Nuggets Twitter has actually stopped and made an earnest effort to celebrate Jokic, to do what we did at the start of this show and reflect on how insane this ride is that we're all on together.
Yeah. I think it's important to go back and look at the history like you do during any holiday. Any important holiday in the calendar, you go back, revisit the history. That's what we wanted to do for sure on today's show. I think we did. Throw some maybe Serbian traditions into your daily life.
That's the next step for me.
Yeah.
That's the next step.
Maybe a little
I can think of
taste of Rakia.
I can think of one.
It's calling our name.
It's a siren call over there.
Yeah. So I like that you brought up that the Nuggets have acknowledged Jokmas. Now they need to acknowledge the Munder.
Yeah.
They need to acknowledge what else?
I'm kind of blanking on some of our, but I think the Munder
Yeah,
is,
Mike.
Yeah, I think Mike is kind of over like mainstream Nuggets culture.
Yeah.
The Munder, I feel, my personal belief is Malone is aware of it and almost says it several times a year.
Do you think they'll ever acknowledge Mr. Nugget?
Did you see our friend AP at Mile High Sports posted his clip with his interview with Monte Morris, I think last year?
Uh-huh.
And they're talking about Gary Harris, and I swear Monte comes a second away. He says, I mean, when it comes to Nuggets, like if you want to talk about Mr. like that's Gary.
Oh, really?
I gotta find the clip.
Go and
I gotta
watch
retweet
that.
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
But so I think they know it. They really should, man. This would be a really fun award, and it's not one that I think the only hang up would be, does it come at the expense of others? Like, you know what I mean? Like picking favorites and all that. But I think it's a fun thing, and I think it would celebrate and encourage a dying art that Monte has mastered, which is, hey, I play for the local team. You're the local fans. There should be some kind of relationship here.
Yeah. Well, I said it on the post-game show last night, but in case you missed it, I caught up with Monte Morris after the game. Had a little chat, said what's up. I asked him who he thinks the next Mr. Nugget should be. I was really hoping for a definitive answer from the person who holds the Mr. Nugget title. He told me he can't decide. He can't be the one that decides.
It's probably tough for him to make the call.
It was a very Mr. Nugget answer of him, though.
I think it's a good sign, though, that we have multiple candidates. Like Monte and Gary were such obvious ones.
Yeah.
But even as this roster's turned over a fair amount, it's still stocked with likable quality dudes. So, Bones, AG, lots of options for this one still.
So somebody posted that video of Jokic and his brothers in the club in Miami after that win last year. Mm-hmm. Do you know who the two guys are? Like arm in arm with Jokic and his brothers dancing to the Serbian national
AG's
anthem.
back there, yeah?
It's Aaron Gordon and Monte Morris.
Oh, man, of course.
Oh, just think about that.
Man.
All right, let's go to next question.
It's a lot of food for thought.
I know. I really left you with a lot there.
This one comes to us from our friend in Australia, our friend down under, Josh Barnett. At the risk of sounding sappy, December 16 obviously was 15 for us in the States. 2016 was actually the day of his mom's funeral. Sorry for your loss, Josh, even all these years later. What Joker has done for my beloved Nuggets and transformed them into has brought so much joy for me in the past 6 years. So his question is, what Joker moments or highlights bring us the biggest smile or the most laughs? We could go for an hour on this, so
yeah,
just try to think of a couple off the bat. For him, he says the game winner over Embiid is right up there.
Whew. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the moments, like I think about, I'm laughing because of.
Yeah.
A lot of them happen at Ball Arena when we're there watching the games, and I'm just sitting there laughing because it's so stupid how good he is. Last night, I feel like it was just a lot of his full court outlet passes.
Yeah.
Like we take for granted how on the money they are every single time. He did have one last night that he overthrew.
He
But,
did to Bruce.
Yeah, they're just on the money so often. Man, all right, I got to come up with a good one here. What are some defining Jokic moments that I always think about?
There's one full quarter. To me, it's the definitive Jokic full quarter. And just, I believe it's Jamal streaking. And Jokic is actually starting the pass before he even turns around. It's a one-handed rebound right under the rim, and it's turn and throw before he even locates him. I'm trying to think of some. We know the obvious ones. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones.
I mean, just recently, like the Jokic headband game.
Yeah, headband
was
game.
a defining moment of last season for sure.
I mean, shit. Last night, everything he did last night, I was laughing.
Yeah,
because they literally couldn't stop him.
I mean, the 7, of course.
7's big time.
Maybe the most memorable regular season game of his career.
All the game winners over all the big guys, respectively. Rudy, Cat, Towns are all up there.
Yeah. I mean, you go back earlier in the Jokic tenor, you had, the Warriors game where obviously he was great in. Some of those great wins back in the early days. The fastest triple-double of all time is always one that, like, I will hold near and dear. I was lucky to be in Milwaukee for that game. I don't even know why I was there, but I was there. For some reason, I was traveling. And every time I think about that, and every time he's got, like, 10, 6, and 5 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I always think about how ridiculous is it that he actually got a triple-double in 13 minutes.
It's insane.
It's insane because he can have a perfect first quarter and still come nowhere close to getting that. That's what I always think about.
I don't think that record will ever be broken. I honestly don't. I mean, unless the game changed drastically even further. But
you have to play such a perfect 13 and a half minutes to get a triple-double.
Haley Keel points out the 30 that he dropped in the fourth quarter in overtime combined against the Pelicans is a great one.
Yeah. Is that the most dominant of a game individually I've seen Nikola Jokic play? Maybe.
Because of, like, what it drew out of him in terms of how difficult it was. There was something about last night that looked so easy.
Right. I mean, he was going up against Taj Gibson, who should be like on a coaching staff somewhere, not playing.
Right.
And Daniel Gafford, who people get excited about, but actually kind of sucks.
You could play that game 100 times and it goes that way 100 times. So it was a bit, it's one that I always laugh at too. There was, it's against the Spurs, and I think Derek White might be like the low man, and it looks like basically a slider in between two defenders on the weak side.
Right.
It kind of bends in front of Derek White's face.
Yeah, cross court to the corner.
Yeah. Is it MPJ?
The one where Michael Porter doesn't see coming and bobbles it. And then still tries to shoot it, I think.
And then this one, because it never counted. Do you remember his and one three-pointer in Toronto? Where he gets clobbered off the
He's
catch
on kind of the side of the court by midcourt.
Yep, and he just turns and throws and it's nothing but net.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that last night when he took that full quarter because I was just thinking, like, I expect this shit to go in.
Right. He also had one of those against New Orleans last year in that game, maybe his most dominant game of his career, where he was, like, so good.
Yep.
He had that too.
I'm sorry, but you guys are missing the most obvious one. It's the 3-point Sombor in Serbia.
Yes.
I was saving that one for another question. You're right, Kale. It's way up there.
Thank you, Kale. Yeah.
The first Sombor shuffle, too, like the first time he did that as a shot in the flow of the game, I was like, what the hell am I looking at?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got so many in the playoffs, too. We could go on forever. Game 82 in Minnesota, I think the first time in, like, a big game when we realized this dude is always going to show up when it matters most.
Was it the third quarter where I think it was one of his first like 17-point third quarters?
Yeah, fucking Taj Gibson fouling.
He got a makeup call
on
Taj Gibson for that game last night. I saw it with my own
All right, we could do this all day.
Okay,
let's move on.
Sorry. Yeah. If you were Santa Claus, this is from Pastor Rhett, what gift would you leave for each nugget under the tree? Just do a couple. Bruce Brown is getting whatever the new hot. Oh, he's getting that Pins and Aces 7-beer golf sleeve.
Wow. Yeah. Or is this only? Do we have to shoehorn in a sponsor with every one of these?
Michael gets a Vanilla Porter Jr.
Michael Malone. He probably could go for a Breck Brew, a heavy IPA.
Gonna hook Bones up with Denver Health Medical. Come on.
He could probably use like
that's good.
athletic
Come on.
greens, Bones.
Yeah.
He's got to get his immune system up to speed. He's been sick too much this year.
Drink orange juice, Bones.
Yeah. Let's see. Who else do we have as sponsors?
I mean, Jokic's a horse. Obviously, that goes without saying. Jokic's the Michael Jordan MVP trophy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next question. Let's see.
Aaron
what
Gordon
else
gets
we
whatever he
got
wants.
Here.
December 15th is not only Jokmas, but also the unofficial start of trade season as free agents can now be traded. Who are players the Nuggets should target, and what are some potential packages? Omar skipping right through the vibes, getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I mean, December 15th, it is Jokmas. It is a very important day in Nuggets history. It's also the official start of NBA trade season because this is the date where a lot of players who sign new contracts this summer are now eligible to be traded. And then I think by January 15th, pretty much everyone who is going to be eligible is eligible to be traded. Trade targets.
All right, I'll just say it so the chat doesn't have to. Kelly Olynyk.
Kelly Olynyk. This is a popular one, bantered about in Nuggets media circles. Kelly Olynyk.
There's circular tables in the press box.
Yeah.
You ever think about that? Yeah.
Why Kelly Olynyk?
Well, because I think one of the problems, or what we're told one of the problems is they're running into here at the second unit is it's such a completely different play style from virtually everything they'd like to do when 15's on the court. So obviously Kelly Olynyk is not Jokic. Hot take. But he's a smart player who can shoot, who can run dribble handoffs, who can make some passes, who can do some of the things to the point where it at least resembles what they work on in practice, what they're used to doing.
Yeah, Alex Caruso has been the guy for me. I feel like Chicago is going to be the biggest seller, or at least they should be, of this trade season. I mean, they're 11-16. They've lost 2 in a row. They just lost to the Knicks. I think that was last night. They're down bad. They're going nowhere. You feel like this is going to be the time for them to sell off their parts, probably try to grab those Lakers picks. Probably send DeMar DeRozan to the Lakers. I bet you that happens.
Alex Caruso, what kind of package does that? The problem is the Nuggets don't have those middling packages. They've got like
does Arturas Karnisovas like Zeke Naji?
Probably not.
Damn.
All right.
Killed my hopes.
Well, there's that. Also, your boy Christian Brown will be right out of the rotation at that point. What are you going to do at that
well,
point?
I'd win that thing I bid for on the auction.
That's
on this
true.
Show a couple days
That's
ago.
important. That's important.
No, I think Alex Caruso would be great, though. I mean, he is the type of guy that you look forward towards the playoffs, and you could definitely see how Denver would use him. Just another super active wing perimeter defender who's just a disruptor on that end of the floor. I feel like he's fallen off a bit this season. You know, I haven't seen as many of those Alex Caruso Twitter viral moments as I've seen in the past.
Well, he's been pretty far removed from the Lakers at this point.
That's actually,
you know what? That's it. That's all it is.
That's actually
Sure,
why
he's doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, you and I joked about this one. I actually don't think it's. I think his stock internally has moved up since Jericho Sims.
I don't think the Knicks are trading him.
I don't think so either. But that's a different. So if Kelly Olynyk is you run some kind of, considerably worse version of the same offense, Jericho's the other direction where it's, okay, let's get an actual athlete, rebounder, potential rim protector.
Yeah. I think I'm at the point now where I'd rather have a wing guy than a backup center.
I think that's fair.
Kelly Olynyk, he would make the bench unit better, no doubt. I think he'd make that unit actually really, really good offensively. Probably even better defensively as well.
My only issue with center, because I actually think, I have some thoughts on DeAndre Jordan. I think he's cleared the initially very, very, very low bar. I think having said that, it's a little easy to overstate how far he's cleared it. All the same, ultimately, I find, given that Jokic is the first string center, those minutes are tenable, at least defensible. You can survive them. But it does feel a little bit like, who are we kidding with that when we get to the playoffs, right? Is DeAndre Jordan going to play in the playoffs? That seems hard to believe.
Here's how it's going to go. He's going to play the first half, get run off the court, and then not play the second half.
which is why
That's how it will go in game 1. I can guarantee you. Clip this.
right.
Save it to your computer, like tweet it out at halftime of game 1. Like that is how the first game of round 1 of the playoffs are going to go for the Nuggets. And maybe they'll win, but I mean, that's just how it's going to go.
So that's at the heart of my, of that inclination of me wanting to say, let's figure that thing out before they get to the playoffs. Yeah. I don't know if it's the most important question on the team. I think you're probably right about a wing type or one more stopper as well. But I think those are the types of moves, right? I do think depending on how you feel, I do think the core is probably good enough, and you're really looking at shoring up some of those questions and positions.
Yeah. Look, when healthy, I really don't know if they need anything to win a championship. I think if healthy, they have the roster to win a championship. Like, I think they definitely could get it done with this exact group. Another defender, I really think would help them.
I think so too. The Caruso one is interesting. I just don't think, to me, Denver's either got this really light Zeke Naji flyer package, or big roll of the dice. How desperate are you for Porter's contract type of deal? And the in between trades I think are tough right now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another question.
Okay, so this is a tough one, and it is, if you're going to pick top one play of Jokic, what could it be? And for me, I know a lot of recency bias in this one, but for me personally, it is the Sombor Shuffle over Giannis in Belgrade.
That might be it for me too.
I just, the context for us being there, of course, but also...
Can you believe we were there for that?
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
How were we so lucky
for this?
How were we so lucky?
Kale just giddy over there.
Man.
And here's the thing. Not a lot of people watch this game back home here, I'm sure. And us being there live for the entire thing, this was a big-time game. Both of these teams needed this win, and it absolutely turned into Jokic versus Giannis.
Both those teams played so freaking hard.
So hard. And it was Giannis and Jokic guarding each other. Like, it was an old school star v star.
For sure, yeah.
And Jokic outplayed him. So it was, to me, that was, we haven't seen Jokic get to do that in the finals, but this is Giannis at the peak of his powers, wanting that game with every ounce of him, and Jokic not letting him have it. So that moment for me is up there.
I just remember how loud it was in Stark Arena. The entire game. But more so after that shot went in, man. The noise, it was deafening.
Dude, I gotta say, watching the World Cup, the Serbia chants, Serbia.
Yeah.
Dude.
It gets the hair standing up on your arms.
Man, it's bone chilling in Belgrade. It's
also
awesome.
You know what song I heard recently? I think it might have been during one of the Serbia World Cup games or something. The song that, I forget it, but it's the one that one guy made into Jokic on fire.
Yeah. I think they were playing that outside their hotel in the
If I hear that song,
Qatar.
like it's on.
Dude. You're so right. Like I'll start partying on the spot.
Right. Like that song, I don't care where I am.
It's so true.
I'd pound a shot of Rakia without hesitation.
It actually is my top run through a wall song right now. You're right.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
Yeah. So yeah, that's awesome here. Or is it time for another break, Kel? Yeah. Let's hit another break. On the other side, we'll wrap up with some final questions here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast.
God, time flies when you're having fun. You know what I mean? When you're just reminiscing. Freed from Desire, Metro's on Fire. Chat helping us out. Okay, what day of the week is it? Thursday.
It is Thursday.
Oh, what a treat.
Thirsty
I get to
Thursday.
Talk about DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook, also an official sports betting partner of the NBA, which stands for the National Basketball Association. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NBA team to win their game, like the Nuggets. You get $150 in free bets if they do. Tight. Plus, everyone can combine multiple bets for a bigger payout with DraftKings same-game parlays. Back Jokic, fade Tatum. The more legs you add, the more money you can win.
Just bet on Aaron Gordon to score points.
That is the Gordon bets are.
I would love to see
good
how
money.
many consecutive games Aaron Gordon has hit his over in points.
And if you're like a real one, you'll try to win the famous Vogt 10-leg parlay. I'm the only person in human history to hit that, so see if you can match. And then Maryland sports fans, you can get in on the party now. DraftKings Sportsbook's live in your state. Just bet responsibly for everyone. You know, it's a lot of fun when you find your units, stick to your units. This isn't supplementary income, but it is a lot of fun. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Get in on holiday hoops action. Sign up with code DNVR. Place a $5 pregame moneyline bet on any NBA team to win. Get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code DNVR. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions do apply. See show notes for details. Earlier in this show, I alluded to Bruce Brown's potential Christmas gift.
Bruce Brown was wearing cowboy boots in the locker room last night.
Was he really?
Yeah. I love it, man.
It's such a good fit.
Maybe he just won't leave Denver because he likes the lifestyle here so much.
Bruce Brown,
Take
Denver.
a huge pay cut.
Denver golfers, pins and aces.
Yeah.
Just smooth fits left and right here. If you want to get your fits off on the course, or you want to get your drink on the course, you got to hit up Pins and Aces. They're family-owned golf and apparel business based right here in Colorado. They make polos, they make hats, they make golf bags. And yeah, like we talked about earlier, an innovative product, the beer sleeve, that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep drinks cold the entire round, because who are we kidding? That's roughly 1/3 of the fun when you're golfing. Check out pinsandaces.com and use code DNVR to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com.
Who do you like in the World Cup final on Sunday?
I like Argentina, but that's rooted in me not wanting France to win anything. Sorry.
Okay.
Flaw.
Argentina's plus 180. I'm getting up a DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week here.
I think France is the better side. I think France is the better team for sure.
Yeah.
But listen, this is Messi's last chance. If he's got any magic left, he's going to dig it up.
I feel like Argentina winning is the perfect story.
Me too.
I'm cool with taking Argentina.
Let's do it.
Are we backing Argentina?
We're backing
for the World
Argentina.
Cup? All right, let's back
One
it
more
for the
time,
World Cup
Argentina,
for the,
you and me.
DraftKings pick of the week. We're backing Messi. I've always been a Messi guy over a Ronaldo guy.
I mean, if I had to
I
choose.
mean, who isn't? Like,
You're always talking about Messi.
yeah. Really.
Tiny King, by the way.
Yes.
Tiny King.
All right, we got a bunch more questions, so let's power through these before we get out of here.
Some good questions. A lot of people hanging out. Appreciate the vibes on this Jokmas. Matthew Kimura says, now that we are over a quarter way through the season, it's hard to believe. Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. What is your updated list for the Circle of Trust?
Great question. It's important that we check in on this topic throughout the season. Let's see. I mean, Jokic in the Circle of Trust. Aaron Gordon is in my Circle of Trust. KCP is in my Circle of Trust. Bruce Brown is in my Circle of Trust. Christian Brown is in my Circle of Trust. Those 5 for me are locks. Jamal Murray was trending that way.
He's kind of not in it right now.
Last night was bad. What was with that 3-pointer he shot last
That one
night?
was really weird.
What was that?
That was the thing. It wasn't just that he was quiet. It kind of felt like he'd been reading the court so well lately.
So I've got those 5 guys in my Circle of Trust. Do you have any bones to pick about any of those? I mean, everybody might not have Christian Brown in theirs.
Yeah.
This is me talking. He's in mine, but you know, I'm not going to hate you if you don't have him in yours.
No, I get why you're doing it, because the floor on what he provides is so so high. You know, he's going to come in and play hard and defend at a high level.
Yeah.
I would just say no, because let's say he's on the floor in a high leverage situation spot. If I'm the defense, I say, let's make him hit this shot. Do I feel like he hits the shot? I'll say no, because he's a defense-oriented rookie. But I think you're approaching it from a different way, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I actually trust Michael Porter Jr. when he's on the floor.
Okay.
I don't trust Michael Porter Jr. to be on the floor. Hence, he's on the outside looking in.
Gotcha. Bones, I think Bones is in my Circle of Trust, but like I'm not like 100% sure. I think Bones' year has probably been a little underrated. I mean, last night he was great. Last night you look down, you're like, oh, Bones Highland has 18 points.
He's just associated with all these dreadful bench lineups,
right,
where he represents the best hope.
But if you think about him as a scorer,
yes,
as a second-year player, as a point guard, toughest position in the NBA to play, it's pretty incredible what he does. with the ball in his hands and just as a scoring option.
Yeah, I mean, this is Adam's big take right now, but his 2-man with Yoke, that's the thing. To me, it's kind of about who he plays with.
Yeah.
You know, if he were playing heavy minutes with the starters, he's probably much closer to inside this circle of trust for just about every fan. But it's a bit of a volatile game, placing some lineups that are going to go up and down. So that is what it is. The 2-man with Yoke, when he does get to play with him, when there's any sort of other gravity on the floor, Bones can get to the rim, man, and that's a big skill.
He can.
Now he's just got to finish at the rim, and then he's in there for me.
He can get past his man every single time.
He sure can.
All right, what else do we got here in the mailbag?
Okay, is the Nuggets' best playoff rotation on the roster? This one comes to us from Bryson Owens 16. Thank you, Bryson. If it is, who's in it? And if not, who do you move? And what move do you see being made?
So the playoff rotation, I mean, 5 starters, 1 healthy, so let's throw Michael Porter in there for the sake of this. I think Bones is in the playoff rotation. Christian Brown's in the playoff rotation. Bruce Brown is in the playoff rotation. That's 8, and if I had to choose a 9th right now, it would be Jeff Green.
Yeah.
I think that's your 9.
I think you're right.
I think that could be a fine playoff rotation. It'd be nice to get another wing or maybe another 3-4 that can also play some small ball 5 in place of Jeff.
Like a Zeke or...
I mean,
just a player
if he
of
ever
that. Just a player of
this
that
season, maybe he can ramp up towards that.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to start that at some point. But Jeff is the 9th guy there, and I think he'd be the guy you're teetering on the edge with if you're thinking about bringing in somebody else.
Yeah, I think you got that one right. Don't need my help there.
All right, let's move on.
Michael Shields says the players really seem to like each other, which is fun. But could this interfere with holding each other accountable, especially on defense? Is the culture too easygoing at this point?
You want to take this?
I think it's an interesting question. I would say it's funny because without being in these rooms, I can money down guarantee you Malone is not easygoing about it, right? Like the coaches probably are not. I would think that the liking each other and the holding each other accountable can coexist. I would say Denver's issue is just more quietness, not necessarily about like unafraid, of like being afraid to call each other out, just not something anyone's inclined to do. I feel like over the years that I've covered this team, for every iteration I've seen, we've kind of heard some version of that from Malone, trying to get these guys to talk a little more. And one of the biggest cliches in this league, and maybe it's quite accurate, is that teams take on the persona of their best player. Well, that all checks out here.
Yes. I think it's a very good point that Michael brings up. I think there's something there for sure. These guys are all tight with each other. Everybody's friends. The Nuggets have a lot of really nice guys on their team.
Yeah, they do.
Everybody gets along. There's not a lot of drama. There was a little bit of drama behind the scenes last season with somebody who's not on the roster anymore. But you don't really see that with the Nuggets a lot. Again, there's a lot of nice guys. Draymond Green, he punches teammates in the face.
Right.
But at the end of the day, he's going to make your defense championship caliber because he's going to yell at you and get in your face and embarrass you if you mess up defensively.
Right.
And I don't know if the Nuggets have anybody on their team. Actually, I know they don't have anybody on their team that will do that. That being said, there's not a lot of guys in the league that do.
That's a good point.
It's a dying breed. There aren't a lot of Draymond Greens. But if the Nuggets could find one, or if somebody on this team could become that guy, that'd help out a lot.
But the Warriors, I think, have struck me as a team that's done both, right? And it's probably the angel and the devil in Steph and Draymond, on the shoulders, so to speak. But they have looked like a group that will hold each other accountable. There has been reported tension, especially during the KD years. And yet, how often does it look like they're enjoying their time together as much as anyone in the league?
When you're winning,
Yep.
it cures everything.
So I think you're right. I think they just lack that guy who's willing to just stand up and say, this is horse shit.
Yep.
So it's a good question.
All right.
Oh,
As we
no.
are going to another question, Kale just sprinted out of the room.
I hope everything's okay. This is a first in like 3 years doing this show.
I'm gonna go to the tweet here and see if we can.
I have a live question actually in the
Okay,
chat.
yeah, let's go to a live question.
Because I think we can give a little bit of insight.
Okay.
Boken says, is there any update on MPJ? Because this feels a lot like last season. He plays poorly, then he's out, then we never hear from him again.
I don't think it's like last season. I know a lot of people are saying that. I don't think it's like last season. He's out for this Laker game, but he is progressing. He was going through non-contact in practice the other day. I don't think he has done contact yet. I think that will hopefully come early next week or later this weekend. But I don't think this is last year. I don't think this is an injury where he could potentially be out the entire season. A heel is tough because it's just like a pain tolerance thing. Mason Plumlee missed 12 games with a heel injury years ago.
Yep.
Michael Malone said that and kind of compared this injury to that right when Michael Porter got hurt. So I don't think this is what happened last year. I think he'll be back not tomorrow against the Lakers. He's not playing that game. Maybe the game after that. I would think he'd be back by late next week. That's kind of my expectation.
Which seems so different, right? Last year, of course, they never actually declared him out for the year, but we never saw him again. And in this absence, you and I, all the media, and even some fans have seen Porter around getting shots up. So I think that he's out there in front of us at all tells you it's not like that last situation.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going here. We got a couple more questions to get through on the mailbag, then we'll be done for the day.
Okay, the Nuggets are one of the best three-point shoot. This is for you, and they're one of the best three-point shooting teams.
I actually submitted this.
Yet take them at one of the lowest rates. Is there still some more juice to squeeze out of this already insane offense? Great question.
Yes, there is. There's so much juice to squeeze, man. The Nuggets are like bottom 5 in the NBA in three-point attempts per game. Part of that has to do with their pace. They play at a really slow pace, and if you adjust the pace, they're kind of more towards the middle of the pack. But still, they have so many good shooters on this team. How are they not taking more threes? In the first half last night, they went 1 of 5 from three-point range, but that's also a sign of how good this offense is. They still scored 70 points in the first half.
They were 1 away, so the Pelicans have the record this year with a win with the fewest threes made at 3. Denver makes 4 last night. Was it 142 points total?
It's ridiculous.
They took 16
and they couldn't make a
threes.
3.
They couldn't make one. They only took 16. And so I think look, the offense ended up going as well as it possibly could because they literally couldn't stop Jokic.
Yeah.
But it is still a great example of you're looking at this team going, I don't even know if this is the modern version of this offense for all of its potency.
Yeah. There is just a lot of room to grow. You think about the fact that Michael Porter Jr. has missed the last 11 games. Your best three-point shooter has missed the last 11 games. A guy who's getting you 4 threes a night, usually.
Right.
You think about the fact that Jamal Murray has had about as up and down of a season as you could have imagined he'd have. I mean, this is about how I think everybody thought Jamal Murray's season would go. He'd have some highs. He'd have some really low lows.
Yeah.
He had a low last night. He'll probably keep having that for a bit here. The bench can't score still. They had an okay night last night, but on a lot of nights, this team still can't score when Nikola Jokic is off the floor. There's just a lot of room to improve. So absolutely. Good question.
Goal should be best offense of all time. I don't know if they do it, but that should be the goal.
If they're not the best offense of all time, it's probably a disappointment. Honestly.
Especially if they're putting this little defensive effort in.
That's a good point.
Okay, what else do we got? This is a tough one. What is the actual problem on defense? Is it effort? Is it coaching? And what can we actually expect to change?
Well, if I knew the answer to this question, I would not be on this show because I'd be on the Nuggets coaching staff.
That's right.
Because they don't know the answer to this question. Michael Malone honestly sounded a little defeated about the defense last night post-game. Did you get that sense as well?
I agree with that interpretation.
He was almost talking as if they've tried everything, which I don't think they have. But he was talking as if they've tried so many things, but nothing has produced a defense anywhere close to average. And he just seemed like he was at a loss for words of how to put a silver lining on the defense last night or anything.
Yeah, and I think part of it is if when the question is framed the way it is, I don't know if we're going to come up with an answer because I think we've seen all of these different aspects creep in. Communication has been there. Like that Utah win, the first 3 quarters, they didn't know who was switching or not.
Communication has been bad.
But I also, when you ask the players, I think focus is probably the word that's come up the most.
Yeah.
And obviously there's this kind of elephant in the room thing to the whole dynamic of, are they just waiting until the 4th quarter because they know they can probably win with Yoke? That's not a good habit, and it's a pretty terrible habit. I certainly think Malone has brought this to their attention, and I do think, schematically communication, that's on the coaching staff, bottom line. But the effort thing at some point, the players either bring that or they don't.
Yep. The more games that the Nuggets play and the more games where they're just awful defensively, I've just come to this conclusion that, like you said, it's a combination of focus and effort, but both those things are kind of intertwined with one another. There's schematical things that they can definitely fix. I think they overhelp on the pick and roll. They give shooters way too much room. Shooters get just way too comfortable against the Nuggets defense. But overall, they just don't care. I just don't think they care for the first 3 quarters of a game because they know they can turn it on and win in the clutch, which they have, and win 4th quarters. I think that's what Nikola Jokic and a lot of these guys think. And honestly, I can understand it. I can get why you would think that way. It's still early in the season, but you've got to flip the switch at some point. Right. Because if you do this in the playoffs, you're going to get run off the floor in the first round.
It's not Boston's approach. It's not Milwaukee's approach. And they could rest on similar laurels, but they don't. And so that's the difference right now. And then also, you're right, the overhelping thing, which I just think it's their attempted solution at no rim protection on the roster.
Yeah. So. Should we hit one more question before we get out of here? We're right up against the time. Let's make this the last one.
Alrighty. Is it possible that Bones is going to be our starting point guard for some period of time as Murray spots up and shoots threes? He's clearly not all the way back. And the difference between the 2-man game with Bones and Joker to Murray and Joker is glaring. Well, it was last night. Which 2-man would you depend on? Is Murray okay mentally?
So you go for it. You go for it.
I was going to say, I think there's an obvious long-term answer, which is you trust in the Murray Jokic 2-man.
Yep.
And we have seen it absolutely pop off.
Oh yeah, it's been great at times.
Murray was pretty bad last night, just full stop.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think my confidence in their 2-man in the clutch is nearly 100% restored to where it once was.
Okay.
I do think there's something to the Bones Jokic 2-man and getting Bones on the floor for some of these stretches.
It's leveling up. We saw it last night. It was great last night. We've seen it over the last couple games. Those two are playing more together. And also Jamal Murray's on the floor. Is he on the floor? No, actually, he's not on the floor with Jokic and Bones. But just when Bones and Jokic are playing, you see a chemistry building. You see those two getting more and more on the same page. You see Jokic trusting Bones Highland more, which is a big thing. Like, if he trusts Bones, he's going to call for that pick and roll with him.
Yes.
And you see that building more and more. So, no, Jamal Murray's not coming off the bench. If that was going to happen, it would have already happened. He's going to be the starter. But I think you're going to see more and more Bones Highland with Jamal Murray, with Nikola Jokic. He's had a really up and down start to the season, Bones. In and out of the lineup, the illnesses. He's just been sick for a lot of the year. I think he's going to be way better, over the last 50 whatever games of the season than he's been over the first, quarter of the year.
Cosign.
Yeah. All right, that's all the time we got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. The
Great
Nuggets
questions.
are off today. They're going to LA. They're flying there right now. They spend a Thursday night in LA and then play the Lakers Friday night at crypto.com arena. We'll be right here in the pregame lounge and the postgame lounge to bring you all the coverage you need. We'll talk to you guys then.